to this evening's candidate forum sponsored by the Journal and the League of Women Voters of New Ulm. My name is Kathleen Berg and I will be your moderator tonight. The League has had a presence in New Ulm for over 80 years. That's a long time. We are an active group of women, and we do have some men, who believe that democracy is strengthened when citizens become informed and when they become informed voters. We are a nonpartisan political group encouraging informed and active participation in government. We do not support political parties or endorse individual candidates. We strive to influence public policy through education and advocacy. If this work is important to you, we do have some materials out in the hallway, and if you're interested in ever looking into our organization, please be free to do that when this meeting is over with. Our first forum tonight is for Ward 1 of the City Council. We will end this meeting approximately at 7:55, and we will take a few moments at that time to exchange to the next part of the forum, to exchange seats, etc. That will begin at 8 o'clock. The forum is being aired live on NewCat and will be broadcast on KNUJ Thursday, August 4th at 7 p.m. We request no taping or recording of this event other than by members of the local press and media. And also, we really would like to request that you turn off your cell phones. The primary candidates for this evening's meeting are Paul Belke, Dave Christian, Rick Hauk, and Jane Mayday Hulke. This forum will begin with introductory remarks up to a minute and a half by each of the candidates. Following their introductions, each candidate has 2 minutes to respond to a question that was submitted to them in advance. Following the prepared remarks, the forum will be open to questions from the listening audience. Questions may be written by those present and given to our usher. Questions can also be phoned in from our listeners at home by calling 507-276-8591. Responses to questions after the initial one are limited to 1 minute. Our timekeepers are seated in the front row, and they will signal when the speaker has 15 seconds remaining, and then it is time to stop. Thank you for respecting our time limits. All questions are screened by League members. Questions on similar issues may be consolidated or rephrased. Questions deemed hostile, antagonistic, friendly, supportive, or of gratuitous content will not be accepted. Questions must be directed to pertinent issues of this elective office and not be related to personal matters. All questions become the property of the League of our League of New Ulm. Should there be a question that is for a particular individual or directed directly to someone, that candidate can answer that question. However, the other candidates may respond to that same question if they want to, or if they do not want to respond to that particular question, they do not have to. If listeners feel a question has not been adequately addressed here at this forum, we invite them to contact the candidates directly. Following the question period, each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for a closing statement. This will be done in the reverse order of the opening statements. The opening statements will be done alphabetically. So the statements at the end, your closing statement will be in the reverse order. And in between, they're going to be random. And those, we will now, that should answer all the questions that you have on this. And so we'll now give our candidates the opportunity to give us their opening remarks. So our first candidate, alphabetically, is Paul Belke.
Thank you. There's no single issue that's driving me to run. I'm running to serve. My background is ministry, teaching ministry, and service. Now, I've seen New Ulm grow over the years. I first experienced New Ulm coming on the Dakota 400. Some of you may remember that train. That was back in '56. I came as a high school student to find out about Dr. Martin Luther College. I graduated from that college and then went out teaching. Eventually, after going to school, I came back to teach at Martin Luther College. I taught there 24 years. My wife and I bought a house here in 1970. We raised 4 boys who attended Lutheran and public schools, and they all were a credit to this town and to the schools. It's a wonderful place for a family to raise their kids. We love the city. I served the city of New Ulm as Civil Defense Director for 12 years, and in connection with that, swore to protect this town. And I've taken that very seriously, and I never was unsworn. So I really do feel that in my heart. I taught Skywarn. Okay, I've been told to stop.
Thank you, Paul. Dave Christian, your introductory remarks.
My name is Dave Christian. I've been a resident of the city of New Ulm for 56 years, soon to be 57 years. My parents were both also born and raised in New Ulm. They've been in New Ulm for 82 years. My wife and I, we have 5 children. We reside at 401 South Front Street. I've always enjoyed New Ulm. Why do I want to be a counselor? That's probably the biggest thing. As I sit here, when I walked in the room this evening, I haven't been in this room in about 2 years. I retired from the city of New Ulm, was the building official for the last 8. And one of the bigger reasons I'd like to represent Ward 1, I spent 8 years on the podium informing the council, recommending the council, decisions, what's the best interest in New Ulm. And granted, some of those decisions are tough for councilors. Some they went the way you wanted them to, some you didn't. So now I'd like to sit on this side, represent Ward 1, and try to keep the charm and tradition of New Ulm. I mean, there's a long history with New Ulm, and yet try to blend some of the new ideas. Think outside the box. How can we grow? How can we maintain? How can we get a population? How do we get our industry back? Those are probably some of my main goals. Keeping people in New Ulm, and yet keeping it historic, a visitor's place to go. I've got 15 seconds left. A lot more than that to say, but I really want to represent New Ulm, sit at the council, represent Ward 1, or any citizen I believe has the right to talk to a counselor, what's going on in the city. That's it.
Okay. You guys are very prompt. It's great. You don't have to end right in the middle of a sentence. You can finish your sentence. Rick Hauk, what are your remarks?
Welcome to everybody for tonight. I am here also to try to run for city council here. This is my second attempt at doing this. I also did it back in 2008 when I received 1,500 write-in votes at that time there, going up against Charlie Schmitz. I want to do this because I have plenty of time to do this. I have no other job. I don't need it. I am retired. I can put 24 hours a day into this if I need to. I am on 2 city commissions. I was picked to sit on the Energy Awareness Commission, and then I was asked to join the Long-Term Power Commission with the public utilities, both of them which I really like, and they have been really well for me to show me how the procedures are at the meetings. And they do listen to me, and I listen to them, and it works out very well. I have been on a letter writing campaign like I used to, but now I write to businesses to get them to come to New Ulm. I've had some very good luck with it. One really good luck. And in order to get them there, I think we need to get the land. And before you get the business, you have to have the land to put them on. So I'm here to try to do my bit with the council.
Okay. Jane Mayday Halke.
Hi, and I have to apologize, but I have laryngitis, so you have to kind of listen a little bit. I've been a resident of New Ulm since 1976, and what brought me to New Ulm was first the Minnesota National Guard and a job with Kraft Foods. I worked for Kraft for 33 years and retired from the military after 27 years. I've had a desire to serve the community for off and on over the years, but with my involvement with work and other things and children, I have 2 children that I've raised in New Ulm, it just wasn't feasible. I'm now retired. I'm now looking for something to do. I need to keep busy and was approached about running for the council. And I think it's important to give back to your community and serve the public. And that's been part of my life for quite a while. And so now I'd like to do it by being on the council and serving the people of Ward 1.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, actually our first question, is a question that was prepared, was sent to all the candidates, and they prepared an answer to it. Our first speaker will be Dave Christian. Effective leadership requires unlearning outdated ways of thinking that no longer apply to modern society and flexibility in adopting new ideas and new attitudes. Describe what you have had to unlearn and the new ideas that you have adopted.
It's funny, I told my wife I'll be the first one with that question. Okay, I had to read it several times, exactly the answer you were looking for. And one thing popped into my head. I'm a retired volunteer firefighter for the city of Ulm, 21 years, and there was a saying, 125 years of tradition unhampered by progress. Some of you know the fire service, that does fit. But I thought deep about the question, and my last 8 years employed with the city, I was in a supervisory role. To me, what you have to unlearn is how you treat people. I mean, that was probably the biggest thing that I had to unlearn. I mean, the days of when I was a child, don't question your parents, those are long gone. Now, listen to people. I mean, I would have supervised 5 individuals. They'd come in with new ideas, accept it, think outside the box, do the change. I mean, I'd tell them, talk me into it. A lot of those ideas were brought forward. I mean, we're a society now that's modern technology. The old school, the handwritten, it's gone by the wayside. Everything is GPS, the computer, the whatnot. You have to learn it. And I had to learn it because I was still old school. I mean, when I left City Hall, they were still bringing in the new technology. And I will admit, don't have to learn that in 6 months, I'm retiring. But that's probably, to me, it's the biggest thing, that using terminology, supervisory role, the boss isn't always right. I mean, there are new ways, work harder, not smarter. There's new technology. Listen to people, listen to the technology. You're not always right. Change your mind, unlearn it, the old school.
Thank you. Jane Mayday Halke.
It's ironic because I thought of the same thing. Over the years, as being raised, you kind of followed the rules and you never questioned things. And when your boss would tell you, this is what you need to do, you did it. And as I got into more of the supervisory role, it changed. And it was adapting to the next generation and how they view and how they research and come forward things, and learning their ways and understanding and thinking outside the box and not always within that box. So technology is great, and unfortunately, my grandkids can out-techno me sometimes when you're looking at things, and they teach me as well as I'm learning along with them. And to learn it's really a wonderful thing. And to keep learning is even more. I just want to be able to bring all those resources and be able to teach people under us because they're our future. They're going to be us. They're our next generation. We're going to have to listen to them as well and adapt to some of the things and ideas that they have.
Okay. Paul Belke.
Well, it's an interesting question. For one thing, there's nothing new under the sun, really. It says so in the Bible. Good government reflects the will of the people. And as has been said, you have to know what the people want, and you have to contact them. Jeanette and I have been going house to house in this campaign and talking to people about what issues they might have with the city. And I think that represents governing well, when you have people coming to you or you go to them and find out what they want. Outdated thinking, we've in the past, as has also been mentioned, it's been a little bit paternalistic. People tell you what to do and you just do it. We have to get past that, because anytime you make a statement, you have to realize that statement is not free from assumptions and possible bias. People can cherry pick their facts to back up what they want. And so you need to get everything out on the table. You have to identify the assumptions and realize what you're really dealing with. You can't do just one thing. This is another way of thinking today. Barry Commoner said that. He ran for president a long time ago on a third-party ticket. Everything is connected. And so if you decide to do something, like, say, set up some kind of facility or structure, you have to realize you're going to have to maintain it. You have to consider everything that's involved with it, because just doing one thing is not possible.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we go into,
Excuse me?
oh, I'm sorry. I was being disturbed a little bit here, so I'm sorry. I'll give you your time.
Yeah,
Don't
O
worry, Rick.
comes before you.
Yes. Pardon me?
O comes before you.
All right. Go ahead, Rick.
All right. When you ask a question like that, you're almost trying to have people forget about the past. While you don't have to live in the past, you can't forget about it. Because if you forget it, then you're going to redo it. Do I have ideas for the future? Yeah. But my ideas don't just come from me. You have to bring them to the group. You have to bring them to the counselors and talk them over. Otherwise, it's an agenda. I don't have a personal agenda except for working with the people of town. Do I have ideas on how the city can make money by using different things such as their city label or using different pieces of land? Yes, I do. And those things will be brought up to the council at those times. Currently, I bring them up to our city manager, and he likes them. Same with the groups at the public utilities. That's why they are working with me on some of them. So you can't forget the past to go forward. Yes, you can adopt things forward, but you have to work them in with the past.
Okay, Rick. This is going to be our first question, and that will be a minute long. And Rick, you get to speak first.
Cool.
This time. I would also like to mention, if you do need a question at this point to be repeated, please let me know in case you don't understand it, or you would just, your hearing wasn't quite right at the time. So, how closely have you followed the renew process, and what parts of the proposed projects would you support or change, and why?
I support the renew projects, okay? The one that I would like to see go is the water park. The one that, second, that I would like to see would be an increase in the industrial park area, because the city needs land. I was disappointed in the part about the armory being able to go up, but that wasn't our fault. That comes from the state, where the state has to own, the state has to own the armory. We already have one. They're not going to let us have another one. That's the way I look at it there. The city has to own what we're going to use the tax money on. But we have to figure out, we're going to have a problem coming up, I understand, there with the hockey arena. So we have to figure out what we're going to do with it first.
Okay, Rick. Paul Belkey, would you please answer that question?
I'm in favor of the Renew projects. I was disappointed that the two projects, the National Guard land and also an industrial park, could not be included in that because of requirements about buying land. I think the council has to take a look at how they can accomplish those two projects. I think those are very important because they both benefit the economy of New Ulm. But actually, the whole Renew project, the only reservation I have about sales tax increases is that it's real. You're taking that money from the people, and so it better be for worthwhile things. I think these are worthwhile things.
Okay. Jane Mayday Helke.
I followed them, I listened to them, and I actually replayed them, each one, all from YouTube. They were recorded so that I could have a better understanding of how the committee came about, the recommendations that they had made to the city council. I too agree the industrial park is really a big thing. We really need to have that land to grow our community. And the National Guard Armory has a spot in my heart, but I'm sure that it's still going to become a thing. They won't move that out of New Ulm, from what I understand. But we need to see this community grow. And if we don't have the jobs and then the land to create those jobs, we're not going to expand. And it's important. It's really important to the community.
Okay. Dave Christian.
I'm not going to do a triple repeat because I agree with the three candidates, what they've all talked about. But I do want to stress with the industrial part, New Ulm getting some property to offer businesses and industry to come to New Ulm. I look at it as those types of facilities offer what I call the family job. It can support a family. Oh, that's a good thing. And one comment I do want to make is they're talking about the sales tax. I know I'm 99.9% correct. It's renewing it. We're not adding another 0.5%. They're just going to extend it.
Right.
I know there's been people talking about, another percent. No, it's just the 0.5%. And one big selling point I'd like to make out to the people is the money can also be used to maintain those facilities. A lot of the general public doesn't know that, but if it needs repairs, boiler, furnace, roof, that money can also be used for that, which is a good thing. I think it's a great sell, and we should continue it for New Ulm.
Okay, David. Our next question is, what is your opinion of the way the city spends and collects money? Jane.
I think New Ulm does a good job. They have a budget, and they pretty much stick to it. I'm a budget person, okay? And I adhere to my budget. It's part of my life. I've always had a budget, and I know there's flexibility. I think we have to be aware of what we're spending. And sometimes I think when we're looking at things, we have to think about the impact it's going to have not only today, but in the future. And sometimes you got to spend forward to make it feasible. So you need that flexibility within your budget. But I think overall, New Ulm does a very good job.
Rick Hauk.
They do a good job. And that's just it. They do a good job. Everybody would like to have gold-plated streets. But let's face it, we can't. Because the minute we start redoing all of them, the taxes are going to go way out of line. And we can't afford a bigger increase in taxes. So you have to pick your jobs. You have to pick what streets are going to get fixed, what sewers are gonna be done, what alleys are gonna be done. And you have to be very cautious at what you do so we don't get, we need them. They need to be repaired. But sometimes you just have to put stuff and keep putting it ahead till we can afford to do it. Because there's a lot of projects that just can't get done because we're not gonna have the money to do it.
Okay. Dave Christian.
I myself believe that the city does a great job with their spending and budgeting. I mean, in times when the things did get bad when the LGA was cut, I mean, staff, city councilors, they had to do some drastic budget cutting and still provided customer service. I mean, I think that was really good. Your short-term goals the city has, and I agree with the two candidates. The long-term spending, you know, it might not benefit me today, but my children, am I glad the city did this 20 years ago? Look what we've got today for it. You know, people, if they think outside the box, don't just look to the past, look to the future, and try to keep that blend.
Okay. Paul Bilke.
Well, reflecting on the history of New Ulm, it seems like it's been done very well. The infrastructure has expanded, and it's been within budget. We paid taxes on our house, and it's steady. It's not anything that suddenly hits you over the head. So I think the council has done a good job, and we do have to watch in the future that our infrastructure can be maintained. That seems to be a statewide problem.
Okay. On to the next question. The Goosetown neighborhood is located in Ward 1. The Friends of Goosetown are making an effort to enrich Goosetown. Among our issues are the railroad crossings. What would you do to improve their condition, and what is your opinion of a whistle-free zone? Dave.
Actually, living in Goosetown now, I kind of enjoy the whistles, but you know, I'd have to dig further. I don't have that much knowledge on it. I believe that's actually a law. If they get to a crossing that's not a controlled crossing where there's just your lights, or I believe that's a law. I don't know if the city can do anything. I mean, you could check into it. And the railroad crossings, I go across those bumps every day. I think that was brought to the council's attention one other time, the railroad crossings, how to update them. And again, I don't know if we have jurisdiction or not in that railroad right-of-way. I don't think we do. I mean, I'd have to research, but I don't think we do.
Okay. Jane.
As somebody that lives right across from the railroad tracks in Goosetown on Valley Street, there is one particular train that likes to blow the whistle for over a half a block, and very distinctly. We know when they're coming through. You can hear it even during the night. I think some people aren't aware that even during the night they change and bang and slam and I mean I don't hear that, but that one I would like to lessen a little bit. So maybe there is a length of time that they could blow it. I mean, there's just that one engineer, I think, he has a long whistle. The railroad tracks are there. They become a part of our life. The only concern I have is when it intersects with the highway. I would like to see a no parking zone for a while. Emergency vehicles need to get out that way. That's the only real major concern I see. Otherwise, it's become a part of our life.
Okay. Paul.
Well, there are regulations about how long a crossing can be blocked. Otherwise, the railroad does get fined. I think it's 11 minutes or something like that, and then they'll get a fine. And that is a problem. I think we need to identify that engineer in the evening there that does blow so long. There are towns that are whistle-free. I wouldn't recommend that. Trains cannot stop on a dime. A lot of people think they can, and they'll try to beat the crossing. Maybe we can advise Canadian Pacific if they would maybe shorten the blasts a little bit.
Okay, Rick.
Well, back in 2005, Washington, D.C. tried to make it whistle-free there, and they could not. Now, we had a chance to go whistle-free back when the coal trains were here. Thanks to Mr. Waltz and the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, when they voted down the coal trains, we lost the chance to get the whistle-free intersections. We can do them now. $275,000 per intersection to put those in. Now, if you want your taxes to go up, we can darn sure do it for all 7 of them. Another $2.5 million on the tax rolls to put that up. You can't stop them. Hopkins, Minnesota put they've got an agreement with the railroad up there where they do not switch cars at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. That's the best thing that we would ever be able to do, is get an agreement with them not to be switching cars, and the only ones we're doing that is the elevator.
Okay. All right. The next question we have, I hope I didn't forget somebody here, is you all live in Ward 1, obviously, and we hope you all can agree that New Ulm is a beautiful place. How does your property in your neighborhood reflect the beauty of New Ulm? That'd be for Jane.
Ooh. Overall, pretty good, except for maybe my block. And it's been an issue that's been brought before the council, and they're addressing it. It's taken a few phone calls, and there's going to be another one made again this week because the lawn hasn't been mowed and the grass is up higher than my knees and the mosquitoes are really bad in the backyard. I think it's really important that people maintain their yards, okay? And it does add to the beauty. And we have a beautiful city. We really do. And I hear a lot of comments about it. So asking everybody to take care of their property, I think, is important. And hopefully ours will get addressed. So.
Okay, Jane. Rick Hauk.
Well, I live on Broadway. I actually live in B1 Limited District. And how does my property look? My property looks like the rest of them. But we cannot do anything with the boulevards on Broadway. The countless telephone calls that have been made down to District 7 in Mankato, they don't even know if the trees are going to be staying there when the Broadway project is done. One person talks to it says the trees are coming down. The next person says it's up. Now they're talking about making the highway right-of-way all the way to the house side of the sidewalk. So everything out from there out to the middle of the street belongs to the state. But they won't give you an answer what we can do to help. I would like to do stuff in the front of my house, but I cannot do it until I get an okay from the state. And I can't do anything until the highway's done. All in all, Broadway looks good.
Okay. Dave.
Okay, I live at 401 South Front. The river is my backyard. Like my property, I really enjoy old homes. I took a house but built, I believe, in 1896 and completely redid it, and I really enjoy that. And as far with the city of New Ulm, speaking as a candidate, enforcing some of those ordinances is not as easy as it sounds. Making somebody cut their grass, clean up their yard, get rid of unlicensed vehicles. At one time, there was talk of maybe New Ulm needs to go back to what's called like a blight ordinance, where we can kind of speed up the process. I mean, giving somebody 14 days to cut their grass after the letter when it's already been growing for a month, it's 3 feet high. I mean, I do have some ideas. Maybe we can change ordinances, expedite those processes for the what I call troubled areas. Mm-hmm. And we do have some. Everybody in the crowd knows about them.
Okay. Paul.
Well, my wife should really answer this. She plants beautiful flowers, roses. So if you come past our house, you'll see a real treat there. And we also have bird feeders out. And we've always felt that that's very important. Working at the college, we often had people come in from other parts of the country, and they would almost universally say that New Ulm was really kept up well compared to their communities. They were impressed at the general culture here. I know there are projects. We go down the street sometimes and we see someone working on a house and it looks like it's been going on for years, and you see Tyvek on it yet. And you would think maybe, I think there is a limit to the building permits, but then you can just take them out again. But maybe if you don't finish within the given time, you should be told, get moving on it.
Okay. All right. The Safe Streets program promotes enhanced use of the streets for bikers, walkers, and motorized traffic. What is your assessment of this program? Rick?
Well, it's okay. I mean, they've got a good loop around town, and I'm okay with the whole thing there. But somewhere along the line, we're going to have to come up with a way to be able to maintain them. For when all these markings on the streets are off, somebody's got to pay for putting the new paint down, the new signs up. So somewhere along the line, we're going to have to add that to the budget, how to maintain it. Is it okay? Yeah, it's okay. I may not like the one that's down behind the high school the way it's laid out, but that wasn't up to me. So it's a good project. They need to do it, but we have to find a way to maintain it in the future.
Okay. Paul Belkey?
Safe routes to schools, you can't beat that. You want the kids to be able to walk and run and bike. That's just plain healthy. That's a real good idea. I agree, you're going to have to maintain it, though, because it's not going to last on the streets with the way we plow and things like that during the winter. So that will become an issue.
Dave?
I hope the individuals are used to the same kind of answers from each candidate. I mean, I also am for the bike trails, the safe paths. I do agree with the other two candidates about maintaining them. A lot of projects that are done, they're great. They look great for the first 10 years. Okay, they need overlay, they need restriping, it costs money. Those are tax dollars. Not a whole lot of people come in and donate $50,000 to redo those bike paths or streets or crossings. So I agree with them.
Jane?
I agree with you guys. I use that bike trail a lot, as much as I can when the mosquitoes aren't bad. But I walk my dog. I do sometimes over 6-8 miles a day, walking on the path, and so for me to have them plowed in the winter is kind of nice because it's an opportunity for me to walk where the sidewalks aren't always the safest and people don't always shovel. But there again, there's a cost to maintaining them, keeping them available and open and clear. And we need to look at ways that we can continue to do that. And maybe it's partnershiping with some different groups or somebody using volunteers or something to keep them open. But we need to look at different options because they're really important.
Okay. What is your concept of community policing, and what issues do you see as concerns for the effort? Let's see. Paul Belkey.
Could you define community policing? Are you talking about the police department as
Yes,
such?
yes. Might be considering body cameras, training issues, especially with the mentally ill, etc.
Well, I've watched the police department in action. It's basically very good. We've had wild animals in the backyard, and they've come to help us out. So I have no problem with policing.
Okay. Dave Christian.
I mean, as you're all aware, the media attention that police departments are getting across the nation today, you know, the training that it usually takes the event to happen, then the officers are sent to the training. I mean, I support that 100%. If it's an issue needs to be dealt with, train our officers to deal with them. I mean, Police officer used to be dangerous. I don't know if I'd want to be one nowadays. I mean, it's just one of those jobs where it seems like they've gotten targeted, but I do believe in the training and community policing. I'm all for that.
Okay. Rick Hauk.
Well, I support the police department, big time. Myron knows that. Do we need body cameras in town? Yes. But we got a bigger problem in town than just the policing of it. We got a heck of a drug problem in town. And if we ain't got figured out how we're gonna do that, this turning around and reading about it in the paper, and every one of these people turn around to get 15 days or whatever that they had in jail, and then the rest of it is all on probation. I mean, you're not doing anything to help these people. I have an idea for a drug and alcohol rehab center in town if the building ever comes available. And I would love to see that instead of us sending the people here from town to Redwood Falls or up to Wilmer or all over. Why can't we have a location like that in town here? The police department here does a heck of a job. But we've got to stay behind them, and we got to give them what they want.
Okay. Jane.
I think we have a very good police department in New Ulm. You call, they're there. I also have had interaction with them on various different things and have worked with them on various different projects when I've planned homecomings for our soldiers and things like that. And you couldn't ask for a more responsive, but they need the training, and we need to make that available for them so that they are number one and they are taken care of.
Okay. As a city of charm and tradition, New Ulm is becoming more diverse than the heritage we celebrate. Is New Ulm welcoming to people of color? If yes, what are we doing right? If no, how can we improve becoming more welcoming to all? Paul Belke.
I think I don't know. I'm not a minority in this town. I would hope that we welcome people of all different backgrounds in our town. We certainly are getting increased diversity. Even the college is bringing in increased diversity. Are we not good people? And are we not willing to invite everyone in? You don't have to be German, do you?
Okay. Rick Hauk.
We are doing better now than what we did back in the late 50s. When we came to town in the late 50s, when you went to look for a home, they even asked you what church you went to before they would even show you a home in that area of the city. Yeah, we're doing okay. And I don't see of any major problem with anything of race, color, creed, nothing. Well, I haven't seen any complaint from anybody. But we're doing a lot better than what we used to in our past.
Okay. Jane Mady-Helke.
I think we're doing okay as a community, but I think we're going to see a change. We'll see more and more minority coming to New Ulm, whether it's for work. We have two big industries right now that are seeing a great influx in the minority, and it's because they need employment. But on the flip side, some of them are choosing not to stay here in New Ulm. They're living and driving 30 miles. Mankato has a little bit more to offer for them culturally. But I think if we really work at it, we'll get there. I mean, we have to be open to diversity. We really do. That's what it is. That's how it is. And accept and make them welcome.
Dave.
I agree with Mr. Balke about, I think New Ulm is a friendly community, and I have not heard really any bad things about any different ethnic groups coming into New Ulm. I mean, we have plenty to offer. Again, using the blending, I believe the city of charm and tradition, we're charming people, we're friendly people. I haven't really heard any bad issues about that.
Okay. New Ulm is known for its lovely parks. How would you improve Riverside and Minicon parks? And would you help establish a park in the South Goosetown neighborhood? Dave?
I'm all for city parks. I believe you go back, look at New Ulm's comprehensive plan, there's supposed to be a park, whether it be developed or not, every so many blocks. I did do a little bit of, I know that Goosetown people are looking at developing some kind of park on the south end. I mean, we do have the South Park, which is completely undeveloped. It's something to look at. Riverside, I'd like to see it a little more well-maintained in the grass cut. And Minicon, that is a tough one. I mean, you hear fishermen complain about it. It is what it is. It's the river. It's going to silt in. I don't know if we can do anything about that. But I would like to see those parks just a little better maintained, and looking more into developing a new quadrant or park on that section, or maybe we could do something with the South Park located on South Minnesota. German, excuse me.
Okay. Rick Hauk?
Well, it needs two parks down in that area. We do need one. You think if we put it in the area of what I call the old Hy-Vee store or Riverbend, the school, if you put it back in there around the German Street area, would make a nice area for the city park for the kids there. Riverside Park, I still would like to see a big canal right through the middle of it, cemented on both sides with railings. I think it's Ripon, Wisconsin has that in a city park. And the people can come there, they can sit there, they can fish off the edge, they can run right through the park like with a small boat. What you're doing is basically making a little island close to the river, but one that you would have a little bridge you can get over to. And people could sit along something like that. I think that looked great down in there. As for Minicon Park, Doc Gurman started a good thing down there.
Okay. Jane Mayday Helkley?
My grandkids love what they call the dinosaur park, which is the Riverside Park. We walk there, and they like to climb on and play. It's a nice park, but I agree it would be nice to have one on the south end as well. There's a lot of children in the Ward 1 that would utilize it and gain from it. Minicon, I just don't know what we can do to make it more feasible. Seems like it gets flooded every time the river goes up, and that river does go up. I am concerned about Riverside when the river is out of its banks, with the kids playing down there and not realizing that it is out of the banks. So maybe some more safety issues there that we need to look at. But yeah, we do need another park on the south end of town.
Paul?
Well, I'm all for parks. In fact, I came to the city council to try to keep utilities out of the city parks. Parks are sacred when it comes to thinking about them. Anything we can do to improve them, and a lot has been said here already, I'm for it.
Okay, that concludes our questions for this evening. And now we'll go into your closing statements. And as I stated earlier, we will do that in the reverse order of the introductions. So the first one to speak will be Jane Mayday Hulkey.
I guess in closing, I'm just asking everybody to take a good look at the four of us, and I wish each one of us a good luck in a primary coming up, and I hope that I have an opportunity to serve Ward 1 and be their voice.
Okay. Next would be Rick Hauk.
Well, thank you all for coming and watching. I do want to help serve the city. I do have plenty of time on hand that I'm available to do these jobs. I do have different ideas. Everybody knows my ideas for a lot of them there in town and what I can do. And I've got the time to offer. Like I said before, I don't have any other business that's going to take up part of my time or anything like this. I'm 2 blocks away. I can always be here, and I can manage this with the city council with the two other groups that I'm currently on with the energy awareness and the long-term power. And I just want to have a chance to do it.
Okay. Dave Christian.
I too would like to thank the league for inviting me and wish the candidates well. I do want to make a comment. It's amazing you have 4 people here running for a city office, all the agreement instead of all the other politics going on today. That we're kind of all on the same page. But again, I would like to represent Ward 1. I feel I've got a lot of knowledge how the city does operate, very familiar with all the departments, from admin to the engineers, all the way down the line. Thank you for letting me be here.
Okay, Paul Belkey.
Well, I want to thank the other candidates too. It's a pleasure to run with them. The thing that I would try to bring to the council would be questioning of the style that Ruth Ann Webster performed. She would often try to clarify things, and that has an educational function. The people have to know what's going on if they are to respond at all to their counselors. So leadership through thoughtful thinking on every issue, careful discussion, always taking care that we're not overspending or foolishly spending. We want a good environment in New Ulm with lots of industry, lots of small industries, because that's more stable. And the environment here in New Ulm is everything.
Okay. We thank our candidates for the primary election of the City Council, Ward 1, for their participation this evening. We appreciate your willingness to serve as an elected official, and thank you for helping us to become better informed voters. Thank you to NewCat and KNUJ for recording this event, and a special thank you to the Journal for partnering with the League this year. Thank you for our listening audience. If you appreciated the opportunity League has presented this evening, I encourage you to learn more about us. I'd also like to recognize the League members for their assistance tonight, including timekeepers Ann Wilczek and Harriet Erberg, our screeners Mary Ellen Domeyer and Chris Wiley, and our voter service chair Jeannie Hinsman. Please remember to vote next week on Tuesday, August 9th. And voting for Ward 1, Precinct 1 is the United Church of Christ. And for Ward 1, Precinct 2 is the Redeemer Lutheran Church. Good evening.
You survived. I told you, it ain't nothing.
Welcome to this evening's candidate forum sponsored by The Journal and the League of Women Voters in New Ulm. My name is Linda Heine, and I am serving as your moderator for the District 2 Brown County Commissioner Forum. These candidates stand for election in a primary on August 9th. District 2 represents the geographic area which includes Ward 3 Precinct 1 and Ward 4 Precinct 2 in the city of New Ulm, all of Linden, Cottonwood, Milford, and Siegel townships. Cottonwood and Linden townships have received mail-in ballots. All other voters need to go in person on August 9th to the polls or vote by absentee before the 9th. The League has been a presence in New Ulm now for 80 years. We are an active group of women and men who believe that democracy is strengthened when citizens become informed voters. We are a nonpartisan political organization encouraging informed and active participation in government. We do not support political parties or endorse individual candidates. We strive to influence public policy through education and advocacy. If this work is important to you, I invite you to pick up some membership information which we'll have available at the back table, or speak to any of those present tonight who can be identified by our lovely League of Women Voters buttons. Tonight's forum is being aired live on New Ulm Community Access Television. It will also be aired on KNUJ Thursday night, August 4th, following the City Council forum, which will begin at 7 p.m. on Thursday. We request no taping or recording of this event other than by members of the invited media, and we ask that you please turn off your cell phones. We'll begin the forum with introductory remarks, which will be allowed to continue for up to a minute and a half from each candidate. Following their introductions, each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a question that was submitted to them in advance of tonight's forum. We will then open the forum to questions from the audience, including those who are present here at City Council chambers and those who are watching. For audience members who are viewing, the phone number to call with questions is 507-276-8591. If you're present in the audience and you have a question, please request a note card to write out your question and provide it to one of the ushers. The candidates will have 1 minute to respond to each of the questions, and we have a timekeeper sitting in the front row who will indicate when the speaker has 15 seconds remaining and also when it's time for the speaker to stop. The questions are screened by League members. Questions on similar issues may be consolidated or rephrased. Questions deemed hostile, antagonistic, friendly, supportive, or of gratuitous content will not be accepted. Questions must be directed to pertinent issues of this elective office and not be related to personal matters. The questions all become the property of the League of Women Voters. If anyone feels that a question hasn't been adequately addressed, we invite you to contact the candidates directly. Again, the phone number for calling in is 507-276-8591. At the close of the questions, we will allow each of the candidates a 1 minute closing statement. Now we will begin with our candidates from District 2 County Brown County Commissioner, and alphabetically we'll have Mr. Berg proceed first with his opening remarks.
My name is Tony Berg. I grew up on a dairy farm in Siegel Township. I've lived in this area all but 3 years of my life. I own my own construction business, and I also farm in Siegel Township. And I'm running for office because I see the opportunity to serve the people of District 2 and Brown County, and I wish to do so.
Thank you. Ms. Bladel, did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. My name is Amy Bladel, and I'd like to be your next District 2 County Commissioner. I got involved in politics because 2 presidential elections ago, I really became disenchanted with the process. I was not happy with either choice for president. I kind of feel we're there again, or at least I'm there again. So I decided it was time to get involved. At that point, I decided to get involved at the caucus level, where I believed we would have more say into the choices. Although it was a great learning experience, and ended with a deeper dive into the political arena, I didn't feel this was the best match for how I wanted to make a difference in the community. After my caucus experience, I wanted to stay involved in politics, and I decided to serve at the state of Minnesota in several senior fiscal level capacities. I learned a tremendous amount about the budgeting, bonding, and spending cycle, but always felt we could do more. After careful consideration, I believe the best way I can serve my fellow citizens is at the local level.
Thank you.
Thanks to the League for the forum tonight. I am Roger C. Kluckseam, and you're going to have to put on your ears because I tend to talk fast. I was born and raised in Michigan. However, I really consider Minnesota my home. I've lived here nearly 50 years, 41 of them here in New Ulm. I was raised on a farm and learned a strong work ethic, farm family loyalties and responsibilities. I first came to Minnesota as a student at Dr. Martin Luther College. During that time, I interrupted my studies and I taught in a one-room school in rural Glencoe, Minnesota. After my graduation from college, I served schools in Illinois and was principal of an elementary school in Delano, Minnesota. I returned to New Ulm in 1979 to assume a professorship at Martin Luther College, from which I retired a year ago. In my teaching ministry, I have had many positions of responsibility in numerous facets. And I think that they have given me a strong leadership style, a perception and a mindset to see the broad scope of issues, and an advocacy for service. My interest in serving Brown County is 13 years old. I went along with my son to tax appraiser school in Minneapolis, became interested in tax levies. I think that I can serve Brown County, and my major concern is that we continue the great legacy that's being built with financial frugality here in Brown County.
Thank you. All right, next we will have the candidates respond to the question they were provided before this evening, which is, effective leadership requires unlearning outdated ways of thinking that no longer apply to modern society and flexibility in adopting new ideas and attitudes. Describe what you have had to unlearn and the new ideas you have adopted. And we'll take this question with Mr. Kluckseam first, followed by Mr. Berg, and then Ms. Bladel.
I think the underlying intent of the question is, can I change? We live in a time of change because it's imminent and swift in all aspects of our life, whether it's agricultural, medical, communication, or travel. The one that I want to convey with you tonight is education. I have flipped my classroom. That means I have gone from the sage on the stage to the guide by the side. When I first started teaching at Martin Luther College, Dr. Martin Luther College at that time, I was teaching student teachers how to use audiovisual aids. I rehearsed what was in the textbook. They listened, they took notes, I demonstrated, they practiced, and I gave them a test. That's what a sage does. In the last years of my life, I flipped the classroom and I was the guide. Students received electronically a list of expectations of what I wanted them to know and come prepared for class. And it also guided them in reading their textbook. Before they came to class, they took online a quiz to test them. When class started, they were put into groups. They rehearsed the results of the test. They prepared questions for me, and they assured whether one another knew it. My class lectures weren't really lectures. They were elaborations and explanations of the topics that the students gave me. If time permitted, we did a case study. When you flip a classroom, you flip your perceptions of the students. And here are two illustrations. This sponge represents previous learning. I poured water in, knowledge. They conveyed water and applied it in an applicable place somewhere without any personal modification. This SOS pad says that students come with a reserve of talent. And all that I do with my water is enable them to use their talents. And so I've changed two things. I've flipped my classroom and my perception of students.
Thank you. Mr. Berg is next.
My experience is not unlike Dr. Clark seems just a different industry. In my construction business, early on, I used more of a command style. A new hire would be there and I'd tell them what to do, how to do it, exactly how. And as I went along, and I don't know if this is age or actual learning, but I would ask them questions, I'd ask their opinion, and to see what their answer would be with their lack of knowledge, because sometimes they view it completely different, a whole new perspective. And I learned a few things, and as they went along and they got more experienced, I listened to advice, and in a couple of instances, it resulted in some real back-saving things that at first I was reluctant to go with, and eventually I did, and it's been a great asset. So learning the ability to listen to the people around you was the biggest thing.
Ms. Bladel?
So I believe that we learn and unlearn every day, from learning how to do something new in Excel to different communication methods to different leadership styles. Chris Argyris, a leading American business theorist, taught us in the mid-'80s how we as leaders continue to practice what he termed skilled incompetence. And he defined this as the skill with which each executive seeks to avoid upsetting the other while trying to change the other's mind. Kind of a Minnesota nice. After reading his paper, I realized I was guilty of this, and most of the organizations I've been associated with have too. To make real changes, we have to be willing to rock the boat once in a while without the fear of losing alliances and partnerships. We need to recognize that it's okay to disagree. We need to value each other's point of view, but to try to see things from the other's perspective. Most importantly, we need to be willing to compromise on solutions without compromising our values, and recognize it's possible to do both. One of my goals, having recently completed my MBA program, was to help develop government sector programs that for programs and leaders that would treat government like an ongoing business concern. While not a new concept, I believe this type of program will help state and local government be more flexible and adaptable as more issues arise. I'm not suggesting putting people before profit, as I learned long ago that's a terrible model, but we do need to make careful choices and maximize the return on our collective tax dollars. Finally, I've learned to be flexible in how I work. As the workforce changes, the needs of employees change. I've been fortunate to work with multiple generations, from the silent generation to the millennials. I've taken the opportunity to learn what meets the needs of each group and how to work effectively across all generations.
Our next question is, how would you perceive the county using more global tactics, alliances, city-county relationships, and the like to accomplish efficiencies and economies? And we'll call in Ms. Bladel first.
I would love to see the county embrace some more global changes. We, as a county, I believe we've done a decent job of managing the budget and keeping things in control, but as tax dollars, federal dollars, state dollars continue to decrease, we need to evaluate creative ways in which we can stay competitive as a county, so that Brown County truly can remain a viable force within the state where people want to come.
Mr. Kluckstein.
The background to the question says, where does the money come from? The Brown County is really a conduit for federal and state money. How we use it, how we spend it, and with whom we cooperate is really our only leeway on 65% of our budget. Because 65% of our budget is federal and state money. We can negotiate with the state. We can submit reports to the state to require additional funds. We can be very frugal on the county level. But the other thing is we can cooperate with other counties. The Brown County Board has 68 committees. 22 of those committees are inter-county. So we are already doing a job to assist ourselves in making sure that we cooperate with other people in our area.
Mr. Berg?
These global things, I have no problem looking at something like that, and if it fits the county and we can work with it and make things happen, I have no problem using them. But I don't think we should be beholden to such things either.
Okay, Mr. Berg, you'll respond first to the next question, which is how would you develop a working relationship with department heads?
Communication, talking to them. Both, the department heads are already very generous in talking, I think, to each of us, and that's great on their end. And I'd keep those channels open and keep talking to them. We have very good department heads, and their opinions will matter greatly with me.
Ms. Bladel?
Well, I would agree with Mr. Berg's assessment that the department heads have been generous with their time already as we've prepared for the campaign. I would certainly seek out the department heads, try to better understand what their needs are, what they see the challenges facing the county over the next 4 to 5 to even 10 years out. One of the themes that I have heard is that Brown County is lacking a strategic direction and a strategic plan. So certainly I would want to involve the current county leaders in developing those plans so that we can all move forward with a collective goal.
Mr. Kluxing?
I too would like to thank all the administrators for the time, and when I left the door, they said, please don't hesitate to return. Communication is obviously important, but I also think from a person in human resources that to make people feel valued, you have to talk to them. I asked her and I said, what would you do as a commissioner if you were a commissioner from a human resource point of view? She said, I would stop in and see the people behind all of the desks. And I would talk to them and let them know I appreciated them. I think that works at any station, whether you're an administrator or a worker in one of the cubicles.
Okay, our next question is, recently, the state challenged counties to do a better job of child protection services. How do you think Brown County is doing in this regard? And we'll start with Mr. Kluxing.
I'm unaware of the challenge that you mentioned, but let me just review my perception of the human resources in Brown County. We have an outstanding administrator in Tom Henderson. We also have a county attorney that's willing to prosecute more cases than he has in the past, which has been obvious by his addition to his staff. That's going to be one of the challenges of Brown County. We have about 500 claims of child abuse in our county. 110 of them end up being true. And so we have to make sure that we have enough staff at Human Services to make sure that we answer and make sure that the children in our community are safe.
Ms. Bladel?
As I understand the issue, the change in the county standards for an investigation has resulted in double the caseload, which in turn has forced the county to add another county attorney and increase costs. Now, I'm not suggesting that we not do all we can to keep children safe. Perhaps we need to evaluate the standards that were used to change this, ensure that they're adequate, and see if there's anything we can scale back on while maintaining the safety of the children in the community.
And Mr. Berg?
I'm unfamiliar with that department. I don't know all that they do, the standards, et cetera. But on a personal level, I dealt with it a little bit. I had a rental house where the parents were struggling, and the county took over, and the end result, I think, was very good for the children.
Okay, Ms. Bladel, I'll have you respond first to the next question, which is, what is your opinion of the way the county spends and collects money?
Well, so I think that the current commission does a great job of collecting the money that is currently available. I would like to see the next county commission take advantage of potential grant opportunities or other creative funding sources that may exist for us. As far as spending, I believe the county's done a nice job of trying to stay within budget. However, we have some severe shortfalls when it comes to maintaining our current infrastructure repairs to both roads, buildings. Our emergency management systems remain outdated. So certainly I would like to evaluate perhaps tapping into reserves or utilizing some short-term borrowing to fund some of these initiatives at today's dollars before they're more expensive 5 years from now.
Mr. Kluxing?
Would you repeat the question? I was thinking while she was talking.
Sure. It's always a good thing.
I hope it was a good thing.
What is your opinion of the way the county spends and collects money?
There's a legacy being created in Brown County, and that is that they're very frugal. When you have a limited number of incoming dollars, 65% from the federal and state government, the rest from fees and levies, you have to be pretty savvy in what you do. Our county should be applauded for what they have done. I think there are challenges. One that I think has been misrepresented is that the infrastructure is really good. If you look at their proposed program over the long term in the next 5 years, the roads are really in very good conditions. There are some bridges that need attention, but the program over 5 years is willing to address all of those. They've been very careful in the amount of service that they provide to the county, and that's how they are able to build up a reserve, and I applaud that effort.
Mr. Berg?
I agree with the items that Dr. Kloxim has said. The other thing we need to do on the income part is we need to twist the arms of our state legislators and make sure that the funding stays at least at par with what's been going on, and I'd like to see it increase a little bit, and also make very sure that, as what they did a few years back, is they balanced the budget, but on counties and cities, and you cause your counties and cities to scramble with their budgets. So we gotta keep at these guys, twist their arms, and make sure that income comes in. Spending-wise, I think they're doing very well.
How do you think the county is doing with building and maintaining roads and bridges? We'll start with Mr. Berg.
It's almost the same as the last question. I think they're doing very well with the money they have, and again, that's the way it goes. You're limited in what you can do. We have the opportunity now with lower oil prices to maybe add one more project a year simply because asphalt is cheaper. But I think they do all right with it.
And Ms. Blado?
I believe on Brown County's website there was a presentation that the road construction or the transportation department had put out, that the 5-year plan was short by about $26 million just to maintain the existing roads within the county, and certainly the sales tax. The local option sales tax will help fund a portion of that shortfall. It's not going to help fund it all. So I certainly have some concerns in the future about how we're going to maintain the existing road and bridge structure that we have in the county.
Okay, and Mr. Kluxing?
I'll maintain what I said before. The roads are in good condition. The assessment in 2013 by the state, called the PQI, the Pavement Quality Index, indicated in a ranking of very poor, poor, fair, good, and very good, that only 10% fall in the very poor and poor. In fact, 0.5% is very poor, and that amounts to 2 miles of Brown County roads. The rest are all scheduled accordingly, and I agree with Tony that oil has been a factor to save that. Of all the administrators I talked to, this department has a laid out progression to address the needs of the roads in the next 5 years. Now granted, there's some industry standards for the other roads that are going to let them know what they should do, but I think they're doing a very good job.
What is your concept of community policing, and what issues do you see as concerns for this effort? We'll start with Mr. Kluxing again.
Would you repeat the question?
Your concept of community policing, and what issues do you see as concerns in this effort?
Can I ask you to define community? Community as all of Brown County, or community as the cities? Because you're talking about different municipalities. You're talking about the city police, the state, the county sheriff, and the state. Were you referring only to the county sheriff? You don't
Maybe
know.
as a commissioner, you might want to
I'll do my own
focus on the
definition.
county and the state.
Okay. If we're talking about the county sheriff only, I think it's a matter of finances. It is my understanding that at any given time, there are only 2 officers on duty. So if the west side of the county has an emergency, there's a 30-minute delay in getting anyone there unless the state or the municipality responds to it quicker. So I would look for greater funding for more coverage in the county as I define community. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bladel.
I would interpret the question a little bit differently in that, for me, policing the community means all of us. It takes a village, similar to raising a child. While I think that we do need to evaluate whether we need some additional funding for additional police force in areas that are more spread out, we also, as citizens, need to be observant of what's going on around us. The police eyes cannot be everywhere at all times. So I believe it's incumbent upon all of us as citizens to help ensure the safety of the area as well.
Mr. Berg.
Again, you need to listen to the department heads. If the sheriff is coming to you and asking for more funding for different projects, education, training in the newest areas, and unfortunately one of them is the safety dealing with possible terrorist things, definitely have to listen, and we should make an effort because that's of vital importance to the county.
Okay, you'll be first again on this one, Mr. Berg. Demographics reflect a burgeoning senior population. What impact does this have on county resources, and how best do we apply them to meet needs?
Well, county resources, if you're dealing with a much more of a retired population, you're going to be dealing more with health services, obviously. I haven't given this one a lot of thought, to tell you the truth. So, also transportation. I know we've got a good service right now with Heartland Express, and I know it's used a lot. So services like that have to be maintained and possibly upgraded.
Okay, Ms. Bladel.
So I think most of you have heard of the upcoming silver tsunami. So we are going to have a huge increase in the number of seniors, especially in the community of New Ulm. It is going to be challenging to ensure all the needs are met, from whether that person wants to age in place, stay in home, and we need to provide health care, home health on some level, or go to a skilled nursing facility. The challenge on the county resources is that as a person depletes their personal funds, they do become eligible for the county to pay for the cost of some of their care. So certainly as we see an increased population, we're going to have some increased costs in that area. We need to start planning now for how we can prepare to absorb those costs into the current budgets.
I think the population of Brown County is going to stay the same, but the demographics are going to change. Right now, 20% are over 65. The biggest age group coming in is between 50 and 59. 28% of the population of Minnesota or Brown County is in that age group. This will be a huge challenge for human resources. We have 3 things already in place, and that is that Brown County Mental Health Services, services for seniors, and vulnerable senior services are already in place. But I think the bottom line is what Amy says. We're going to need more resources for our human service development.
How can the county help in growing the economic base of the county and encourage growth? Mr. Kluckstein first.
It's my understanding that Brown County does not have an economic developer. They don't have the injunction to develop Brown County, while the city has the cities have economic developers. I think it's secondhand. I think that the Brown County can assist the economy of Brown County by improving roads better than what we have right now, and also making sure that the tax levy is monitored. It's my understanding that farmers' taxes have gone up 132% over the last 10 years. And anything that we can do to hold the levy for the number one industry in Brown County, the farmers, is absolutely critical.
Mr. Berg?
Yeah, the taxes have gone up like that, but they're starting to recede again too, simply because of the price of land. Could you repeat the question again?
How can the county help in growing the economic base of the county and encourage growth?
Well, it's my understanding that the cities have, they zone industrial, and most of the land in the counties is agricultural. And therefore, your industry tends to attract to the cities also. But as Roger said, the roads and the infrastructure is a big part of that, because you're going to want your moving your goods around with trucks and stuff, and you want good highways.
Ms. Bladel?
Well, Brown County, I believe, is somewhat disjointed in functioning in a partnership with the local cities, the local business leaders. We all need to, I think, partner together to help attract business to the area, sustainable business, which will attract, hopefully, families that will want to stay here, families that the husband might work at the industry that was drawn here and the wife might need a job somewhere else. This would also help to address the growing workforce shortage in the area. And by drawing people to the community, they're going to spend money in whatever community they settle in as well. So that would also help drive economic development.
Tell us about your comfort level with technology. And Ms. Bladel, you'll be first on this one.
Well, my undergraduate degree is in information technology and accounting. I love technology. I'm a technology geek. I often get the latest thing before everybody else has it. Very comfortable. I recognize, though, that not everybody I work with is as comfortable as I am, or if I were voted county commissioner, that maybe not all of the constituents would embrace it as much as I have. So while I'm still very open to using traditional methods, I would certainly always be willing to train somebody on some new technology.
Okay. Mr. Kluxy.
Is this question predicated because two of the current commissioners don't use computers? You don't have to answer that question.
I didn't write it.
I started out with chalk and talk in the classroom, and I ended up with multimedia, video clips, PowerPoints, keeping records online, having textbooks online, having quizzes online, having tests online. So I like to think I'm pretty savvy with technology.
Mr. Berg?
I know one of them that's not using a computer. I would say I'm moderate in my ability of handling. I can get lost once in a while in a computer if I'm trying to do a word program, that sort of thing. But I am using a smartphone for a lot of things. I use it for farming also, soil sampling, the whole deal. So I'm doing that. I also use monitors in tractors that are using GPS tracking, and I have to deal with that. So I have a moderate comfort level with technology.
Let's see. Mr. Berg, you'll be first on this one, which is how do you keep current with county issues and regional current events?
Newspaper. I read the county minutes in the newspaper too, and there's also a county website you can go on.
Okay. Ms. Bladel?
Both what Mr. Berg said as far as reading the website, the paper, but I also try to keep informed through just communications and outreach to people in the community to understand what their challenges might be. I don't always agree, but I think I have an open ear to listen to what they have to say.
Mr. Kluxy?
I tease Chuck Enter that I'm the only one who reads the minutes of the Brown County, and I very often actually watch the sessions, to which he chuckles. You can also read the newspaper. There's also a publication by the Association of Minnesota Counties that you can go to and find out what our current issues reflected in the state and in your county.
Well, we don't have any more questions for the candidates tonight, so we will proceed to our closing statements. And the order for that will be Ms. Bladel first, followed by Mr. Kluxim, and then Mr. Berg.
So I would like to thank the League of Women Voters, the Journal, and New Ulm for sponsoring this event. I haven't participated in a debate since I was in high school, so that's been quite a while. So it's certainly been challenging. I don't know if I want to call it fun, but challenging for sure. So I'd also like to thank my friends and family for coming out tonight. I would ask for your support as you consider who you want to be your next District 2 Brown County Commissioner. I'm the candidate who favors smart investment in roads, bridges, and other infrastructure. I support collaboration with other cities and localities to help bring sustainable businesses and new jobs to the area. I also want to ensure senior needs are adequately met, work collectively with other leaders to address the growing workforce shortage, and I'd like to be the one to help lead Brown County through the challenges and opportunities facing all of our citizens. I look forward to hopefully serving Brown County, and thank you all for coming tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
Politicians are successful in elections when they advocate change. The premise is that some major need needs to be addressed. So why change a successful Brown County administration? Brown County has to change, however, because change is imminent and will challenge the established ways of doing things. The change that I advocate is not due to major deficiencies in Brown County, but the calculated changes needed to meet new challenges. Brown County will be challenged by an aging population, increase in disabilities, increased child protection, drug use, and lower revenue. I can contribute to meet these challenges by my time, talent, and tenacity. I am retired and willing to work full-time for a part-time job. I have honed leadership skills, analyzing, critical skill thinking, and advocacy. And I am tenacious in my low-budget, knock-on-doors campaign. My solution, if you don't remember my name, remember RCK on Election Day.
Okay, Mr. Berg.
First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. It's a wonderful thing you do. It allows the public to see each of us up here, get to know us a little bit. I think Brown County is a wonderful place to live. I've been here a long time. Like I said, I lived 3 years away from Brown County. And I think my experience in my construction business and in farming, in dealing with the decisions of both those industries, also dealing with the government agencies that you have to, Fish and Wildlife, NRCS, and those sort of things, all the paperwork involved, gives me an understanding of the research and the government that you have to deal with. And I think my experience in these areas lends itself well to making sound decisions for Brown County, and I'd appreciate your vote on August 9th. Thank you.
And now it's time for the League of Women Voters to have some thank yous. First of all, thank you, each of the candidates. It's really quite a commitment to be willing to serve as an elected official, and we appreciate your coming here tonight to help us be more informed as voters. Thank you to New Ulm Community Access Television and KNUJ for recording tonight. Special thank you to the Journal, who partnered with us this year and will be partnering with us for the rest of our candidate forums. Thank you to the audience. If you have enjoyed this experience and appreciate the opportunity, we would love to talk to you about possibly becoming a member of the League. And again, we have information in the back of the room about our organization. Several League members helped put this together tonight, none the least of which is our Voter Service Chair, Jeannie Hinsman. Question screeners tonight were Mary Ellen Domeyer and Chris Wiley, and our timekeepers, the ladies with the red signs, are Ann Wilczek and Harriet Erberger.
With all the control.
Or excuse me, Erberg. Thank you, and again, please remember to vote in the primary on August 9th.